Hello, everyone. Welcome and thanks for taking the time today to be with us. I'm Addie Stone Richards, Director of Membership Engagement here at Lyft. And today we're talking with Beth Kreiderman Moss. She is Lyft's Director of Contracts. And she's going to give you an overview of the DoD Mentor Protégé Program. So over to you, Beth.
All right. Thank you, Addie, and everybody out there. Thank you so much for taking the time to hear about the DoD Mentor Protégé Program, Lyft's involvement with that, and some tips on how to be successful in pursuing a potential mentor protégé agreement. Before we get too far started, I'd like to tell you a little bit about the Lyft organization. We are a 501c3 nonprofit. We are an accelerator, a convener, a connector for government, industry, and academia. And our particular focus area, technology focus area, is in alloy development, material alloy development. We're one of 9 manufacturing innovation, DoD manufacturing innovation institutes in the United States. There are 17 that are managed through the USA manufacturing program, but there are 9 that are specifically designated, administered, and provided oversight by the Department of Defense. Those other 7 or other 8 are here for you to take a look at. Each of us have sort of a 3-pronged mission. One is to do research and development, applied research in a specific technology area. As I mentioned, Lyft's is in alloy development. We also then, another prong of that stool is to outreach to the defense industrial base community and develop a manufacturing base around that particular capability. And then lastly, education and workforce development. So as we advance further into the future using advanced manufacturing skills to develop new technologies in this area, we also want to make sure that we maintain connectivity with our legacy manufacturing programs so that nobody gets too far behind, and that those manufacturers who are interested in progressing along the lines of these advanced manufacturing tool sets are able to engage. So technical focus area, industrial base engagement, and education and workforce development. And we are Lyft over there on the right-hand side. So a little bit about the Mentor Protégé Program. Lyft got involved with the Mentor Protégé Program back in 2022. Really kind of kicked it off at the beginning of 2023 through a pilot initiative, a pilot partnership initiative with the Office of Small Business Programs. And at that time, we were starting to recognize that we were losing a huge cross-section of our small business participation within the DoD manufacturing community, not just in the manufacturing sector, but all across the board. We have lost about 40% of our small business engagement in DoD contracting activities over the last decade. And that is not a healthy sign. As you all know, many of our innovations take place at the small business level. The true entrepreneurialism that takes place that helps build new technologies that can be advanced into a DoD program of record and get into the hands of the warfighter. We need to maintain connectivity with those very agile, very flexible small businesses and bringing them on as part of a defense industrial base supplier. So it's critical that we get those technologies, we find those technologies, and we find and have a mechanism in place where a small business that is focused in a technology sector has the ability to maybe glean information and skills from more experienced DoD contractors that also have aligned mission and maybe working in a similarly aligned technology space. And then part of that is to then garner long-term relationship between those more experienced mentor organizations, mentor companies, and the inexperienced protege companies, inexperienced only in the way of being able to navigate the DoD industrial base community. Here are our 9 DoD Manufacturing Innovation Institutes. Gives you an idea of where we're located around the country. And LIFT is headquartered in Detroit, Michigan, right there in the mitten. So the DoD Mentor Protégé Program attempts to really pair those small businesses looking to break into the DoD acquisition process with again a more experienced mentor program. Mentors have more experience in managing contracts, administering contracts. They can provide developmental assistance to a small business. Protégés that fit the protégé criteria looking into the defense industrial base, meaning they're not debarred or they don't have a whole lot of experience. They're new to that, but they have that maybe gee whiz technology or concept potentially that we want to bring on board that could be a benefit not just to a mentor organization, but to the defense industrial base community at large. These are mutually beneficial relationships as with the Department of Defense and guided through, again, the Office of Small Business Programs with the Department of Defense. And you see in big yellow letters back at the bottom, the Mentor Protégé Program enables more businesses to enter the military supply chain, enhancing warfighter capabilities and to come home safely. That's what it's all about, right? To give the United States an unfair advantage against any adversary. So as I mentioned, we began really pursuing or looking and working with the Office of Small Business Programs in 2023. You'll see there in the lower right-hand corner, that is the director of LIFT, our CEO, Nigel Francis. And that was at the first DoD Mentor Protégé Summit that LIFT attended that as part of the Mentor Protégé program back in 2023. And why, what was the purpose or what was the reasoning? Those MIIs have a strategic alignment of resources to address targeted technology spaces, as I mentioned. LIFT, our technology focus is in alloy development, particularly in metal alloy development. We have ARM is another example of that, where they look at the technology behind robotics in manufacturing. We use robotic technology in a lot of the things that we do at LIFT, but we use that as a tool to get to the means to the end. Our focus area is in the material, the alloy development. Their focus area is in robotics development. You may have heard of America Makes. That's another MII. They focus in the additive manufacturing process, the 3D printing. We develop the materials that feed those processes. So there's overlap between the MIIs, but we work sort of synergistically in different skill sets. And so looking at those different technology focus areas and the industrial-based community that we have developed around those technology focus areas can lend to an industrial commons for manufacturing R&D and workforce development and education. Looking at the Mentor Protégé program, this is a program that's been around for a few decades, I think about 20, 30 years. I think up until last year, I believe, it was considered a pilot program. It's finally been around long enough where they did make it a program of record. And their whole focus is to provide a whole of approach to allow folks to increase the capability of small businesses to develop a whole of approach, sort of like a wraparound service for a small business that wants to get involved in the defense industrial base, looking at where they're lacking, what skill sets they need in order to become a more robust partner to become a defense contractor themselves. So a few smart people got together and said, you know, why aren't these two programs working together more synergistically? So what they did is they made MIIs one of their authorized subcontractors under the Mentor Protégé program, and we'll get into that a little bit more. So LIFT was selected to kind of take the lead to evangelize and socialize the concept of the Manufacturing Innovation Institutes now being part of the Mentor Protégé program as an authorized subcontractor. We, the MIIs, are not the mentor. What we do is we can be subcontracted to by a mentor organization to provide that service that that small business may need, whether it be related to that, surrounding that technical focus area and skill set. And then, of course, we've been our role is to also sort of provide some technical assistance along the way, talk about the Mentor Protégé program, help get small businesses put their feet on the path to success. Again, the Mentor Protégé program is both. It's an advantage to both the mentor and the protégé. The mentors can shape careers, fortify the defense industry, and foster connections with small businesses to enhance their capabilities and perform as subcontractors so that that small business can perform as a viable subcontractor, again, not only to the mentor, but all DoD contracting opportunities as they arise that align with their skill set. That will help them develop a high quality subcontracting pool. That mentor now has a vendor supplier that they can rely on, that they know has the skill set that they need for success. They receive cost reimbursement credit towards providing mentorship to a small business, and that can help them meet their small business goals within the DoD community. And it also allows them to pursue potentially new markets as they look to build a skill set that a particular small business has. They can enhance their ability to open up a greater aperture of market share in pursuing potential DoD contracts. Protégés receive guidance from top prime contractors. Those mentor organizations can connect those protégés to top experts within the prime contractor community, within their company. And here's where we come in, MIIs. We can provide technical and or engineering assistance as part of that authorized subcontractor pool. There are several authorized subcontractors. We'll talk a little bit about those in a few. Apex accelerators are some, small business development centers are authorized subcontractors, and now MIIs, where we can fill that gap in technical and engineering assistance to a small business as part of a mentor-protégé agreement. Protégés can also receive management assistance, general administrative assistance, training and education, and business development. For example, general administrative assistance and management assistance. How can a small business become more successful putting together a potential request for proposal when they submit an RFP to the Department of Defense or request for proposal? What are those tips and skills that a small business may need to be more effective and actually have a better shot in that pool of competitiveness that they have and get that award? So what are the eligibility requirements for a small business? Well, the small business needs to be small. I don't know if you're aware, but small businesses are, the way that they're determined is through the Small Business Administration. And when you register with SAM.gov and to get your cage code, and if none of that sounds familiar to you, you don't have a cage code, you don't know what an NAICS code is, this is a perfect time to call your Apex Accelerator. There's local Apex Accelerators located all over the nation. They can help you with your SAM.gov registration, help you get your electronic presence set up, and help you identify your NAICS code, which is a North American Industrial Classification System code, which identifies different industries with these different codes, and they'll help you get set up. So that primary NAICS code that you as a small business have identified is what determines the size standard. SBA looks at that NAICS code and says, well, if you are a manufacturer, generally speaking, it's going to be less than 500 employees that would consider you a small business. If you are a service provider within the DoD community, they'll look at your NAICS code and then look at your annual revenue and determine whether or not you are considered a small business. We're going to look at manufacturers today. So manufacturing, is based on number of employees. Generally speaking, 500 employees or less are what constitute a small business. Here it says that you must be less than half the size standard corresponding to the primary NAICS code. So that means a small business manufacturer with 250 employees or less could still be considered a small business for the purpose of the Mentor Protégé program. You also should have one of these small business set-aside categories that we list here below. An economically disadvantaged business entity or individual, an entity owned or controlled by an Indian tribe, Native Hawaiian organization, disabled individuals, women-owned small businesses, service-able disabled small businesses, hub-zone small business concerns, and then also newly added non-traditional defense contractor. And you provide a critical capability that can enhance the defense and supplier base. We are really in need, the defense industrial base is in need of qualified manufacturing companies. Small business manufacturers are a critical supplier to the DoD. So if you basically are a manufacturing company with 250 or less employees, you most likely would qualify for the Mentor Protégé program as a protege. Qualified mentors also have to go through a process to determine that they have the capability and the ability to successfully administer a DoD contract. And the best way to do that is through past performance. So if a business has acquired, attained, and successfully administered DoD contracts in value of $25 million or more, we look at that, the program looks like that as a qualifier to determine that, yes, indeed, this company has the ability, the skill set to be able to successfully mentor a program. They've been able to show and demonstrate that they can administer it. They understand how to use wide area workflow to get their invoicing in, to receive their reimbursements, to being able to successfully bid on a contract or submit a proposal for award and be able to administer that. And here's an example of some of those larger prime contractors that have demonstrated that ability. But the beauty of looking at that $25 million in revenue means that it doesn't necessarily have to be a large business to be a mentor. Small businesses can potentially mentor other small businesses as long as they can demonstrate through that threshold of contract award, $25 million in contract awards, that they are capable of mentoring a small business who does not necessarily have those skill sets. And you'll see to the right here, there's a list. This is only one page that shows all of the approved mentors currently. That doesn't mean that if you're not on that list, you can't participate as a mentor. You can go through the portal that's developed through this email URL I have down at the bottom that is put out by the Office of Small Business Programs Mentor Protégé Program. You can download this list, take a look at it, and through that website, you can also apply to become a mentor. So how do you participate in the Mentor Protégé program? Well, I'd like to say it's as easy as 1, 2, 3, 4, but the devil's in the details, as you all know. Mentors and protégés are responsible for finding their counterparts. Lyft can maybe help you make some introductions. We've got a very robust membership base that includes some of those mentors that you saw on the previous screen. And we can maybe help make those connections for you, but it's really up to the protege to really understand who in the industry is most capable or aligned with what my capabilities are to be able to provide that mentorship. And that takes time and effort on the part of the protege company. They've got to do their homework. They've got to do their research. My suggestion is networking. The Department of Defense offers all kinds of opportunities for small businesses to network with other organizations, other small businesses, other prime contractors. I know here in Michigan, for example, we have the Michigan Defense Expo coming up next month. We've got an opportunity coming up on April 30th in Caguas, Puerto Rico, our Lift 2.0 facility, where these networking opportunities can take place. And it's really conversation by conversation, doing your homework, seeking out those approved mentors or possibly those that could be approved, and find out where there's synergy. And that really depends on the mentors and the protégés to make those connections. We cannot do that for you. This is a long-term relationship that does have implications with each other and how you move forward together as a partner. And those partnerships need to be formed right from the get-go on behalf of your own interests, your own capabilities, and your own networking in pursuing which of those firms, those mentor firms, really align with what I can do to bring value to them, and as well as receive the benefit from all of that mentorship. So when you find that relationship, you then proceed to, okay, now what? A lot of times what they'll do is a gap analysis, a gap assessment. You literally sit down together, and that mentor, well, what's stopping you from taking the next step? What's holding you back? This helps you identify the developmental assistance that's needed, that mentor can provide. And when they begin to develop that developmental assistance, when that becomes identified, if it's in the technical and engineering sector, you could plug in one of the manufacturing innovation institutes to maybe provide that service. That mentor could subcontract to an MII to provide that service to the protege. It could be an MEP. It could be a small business development center. And again, it could be an Apex accelerator. The objective is to get that protege to the point where they are a solid member of the defense industrial base, DIB. Proposals should be manufacturing focused if you're going to involve an MII, and should clearly define how those capabilities can be enhanced, and also describe the business impact on what that developmental assistance means. That means it's got to be important to DoD. And like I said, the manufacturing sector, pretty much across the board, is an area where DoD is really looking to expand and enhance the industrial base and manufacturing base across the board throughout the United States. And then when you look at that mentor protege agreement, that MPA, it really consists of three precise areas. That's your executive, technical, and cost. How are you going to administer if you're a mentor? How are those services going to be provided? What are the timelines that those services will be provided to the protege? What type of actual services, what are the technical aspects of those services that are going to be provided, and then the cost volume, how much is that going to cost? Once you develop that mentor protege agreement, and there are different templates that are out there that you can utilize to sort of put together that framework to make sure you're hitting the mark. That gets submitted to the Office of Small Business Programs. And if you are then awarded, the agreement begins. 1, 2, 3, 4. So when you are get that MPA agreement together, just to give you some insight on what does the DoD kind of look at as they're looking at these and evaluating the criteria for selection so that that mentor protege agreement gets awarded. They're going to look at that technical approach. They're going to look at the developmental assistance that's being provided. Does it make sense in this environment? They're going to look at if there is truly opportunities within the mentor organization to subcontract to not only them, but other prime contractor opportunities. The use of those authorized subcontractors, as I mentioned, the MIIs now being one of, how are they engaging those services that are available out there already in the defense ecosystem, so to speak, to provide those wraparound services. And I will let you know that a mentor protege agreement can involve more than one MII. It can involve more than one authorized subcontractor. It just depends on what the need is, on who you engage to plug that authorized subcontractor in as part of that cost reimbursement contract to the mentor to provide those services to the protege. They want to see that there's a corporate commitment on both the mentor, on behalf of both the mentor and the protege, the management plan, the timeline involved, past and present performance, and again, the cost. So to kind of start to wrapping it up here, to become part of the defense industrial base, here's some key tips. The relationship between that mentor and protege is extremely important. It's the heart of the mentor protege agreement. Successful agreements all across the board are based on trust. The mentor must have faith in the protege's abilities, and the protege must trust that that mentor is really looking out for them in their best interest to help them to help stabilize their skill sets to be a successful member of the DIB. It's not a casual relationship. These are long-term relationships. The length of, and it may, one of the questions I'm sure you probably have on your mind, these agreements can be up to 3 years, 1 base year, 2 option years. And then there's also some reporting requirements on that the mentor must follow through with. After the mentor protege agreement expires and is over, the mentor still is reporting on the progress of the protege. We want to see how's that protege doing? Did they indeed become more successful? Have they been able to successfully bid on other opportunities and get awards? The development plan is driven through a step-by-step, as I mentioned, gap analysis. What skills, processes, things, people are missing that can help the protege win more? What skills, processes, things, or people can be improved to help the protege win more? A well thought out initial business development pipeline is the key. Mentor and proteges can tackle team markets then together. Plans should consider more than just mentor subcontracts to the protege. As I said, this is to help the protege become a stable stable member of the defense industrial base across the board. Are there federal opportunities beyond the Department of Defense with the Department of Energy, Department of Commerce? Are there other federal agencies that could gain from having that small business now being able to compete for and win on those federal awards? The plan should target prime opportunities for the protege. So there should be some research done to see that indeed there are opportunities that align with the skill sets that are needed. And then return on investment is tracked quarterly by the mentor and driven by people, revenue, and growth. So that is it for my presentation part. And now I'm open to any questions that you may have.
Well, thanks so much, Beth. We'll give everybody some time to put their questions in the chat. I do have a couple of questions. Can you talk a little bit more about how one gets started becoming an approved mentor? It sounds like an involved process. Just a little more detail on that.
Yeah, thank you. If you go to the DoD, literally, folks, just Google DoD Mentor Protégé Program. That will take you to the DoD Mentor Protégé Program page as part of the Office of Small Business Programs. And there you will find the approved mentor list. You will find a portal where a mentor can actually just online go through and submit specific information that Office of Small Business Programs is looking for in order to determine that that mentor has the capability and proven ability to successfully administer a contract. And again, the biggest measure that they use is past performance. So if you've attained $25 million in the last fiscal year in contract awards, that right there is an indicator that you are have the ability to successfully administer a contract and thereby provide the mentorship and developmental assistance that a protege may need. and it's actually not that involved of a process. There is specific information that's requested, but it really doesn't take, especially if you're a DoD contractor, most of that information is going to be very much available to you, and you'll understand it, what they're asking for, and you can apply through that portal and become an approved mentor.
Okay, thanks. So you talked a little bit about the responsibility of the protege to find a mentor. You mentioned networking. Um, do you have any insights, a little bit more detail on how a small business and all the networking opportunities, how do you arrive to event and kind of get started? How do you really start to meet that mentor?
Yeah, wow. So of course, one of them is if you're technical, if you're a small business that has a technical focus area that aligns with one of the MIIs or several, I really, really strongly would consider joining a Manufacturing Innovation Institute. They all have membership outreach officials that you can reach to. That's a great way to integrate yourself into a particular industrial base engagement opportunity. I really honestly also, and again, a little bit biased because I work for an MII, but I also am an officer on the board of directors for the National Defense Industrial Association Michigan chapter. And there are so many awesome opportunities that NDIA conferences provide, where you can just really have go a walk around an exhibit hall and stop one by one, talk to these major defense industrial base suppliers, prime contractors. You've got to get out there and network. I can't say enough about it. You will not make those relationships sitting on the fence. You need to engage yourself. You need to be part of put yourself and thread yourself within the community. Look for those opportunities, and many of them are free, low cost. Again, I'm a little biased because I'm with the NDIA Michigan chapter, but the Michigan Defense Expo MDEX is free. General Dynamics Land Systems is there. Many of the prime contractors, particularly in the ground vehicle market, which you may have an interest in, they're there. And there's other NDIA events that happen around the country, small business outreach, uh, seminars, webinars, free of charge that are offered by, I've been to several by NASA that offers engagement opportunities for small businesses. You really have to take those advantage of those opportunities. You also need to realize that you gotta get that 5-minute elevator pitch down, understand your capability, understand how to get that across in a meaningful way, but mostly do your homework, because people will listen to you if what you're saying is important to them. So understand what that prime contractor and potential mentor does. What are their hurt bumps? What is it that you think that what is it that they need in order to be successful in this industry? Where are they lacking? Where are their pursuits headed? Understand their pain, and be able to speak to them at their level, on their level, to start to find where that mutually beneficial relationship can blossom.
Nice. Thanks, Beth. And on that note of events, we have someone in the chat that can't quite make your Puerto Rico MPP event. And is there any more information regarding that event, or will there be subsequent events?
Well, gosh, I digress. The LIFT Manufacturing Innovation Institute, we are having our A2M2X conference. It is for members, but I believe that it will allow, we've done some outreach, so you don't have to be a member to attend. I will be there with a table ready to answer any questions related to MPP. I don't know the registration fee right off the top. Addie, I'm not sure if you know that, but
Yeah,
there is a small.
I'll put a link in the chat. Yep.
Perfect. And that's on April 7th. So here's what I'm telling y'all out there. Wherever you are in the country, there are several major events happening within Michigan that week, the week of April 7th. April 7th is when A2M2X will have our conference, our LIFT conference, at our LIFT facility. So if you really wanted a chance to see that, you'll be able to at least kind of get an idea of where we live. I will be there with information on Mentor Protégé Program. There will be lots of activities, and that can flow right into this other conference I mentioned, MDEX. The Michigan Defense Expo takes place on April 8th, 9th, and 10th. And also during that same week is AeroDef and Rapid, which will be taking place at the Huntington Place in Detroit. It is Defense Week in Michigan, the week of April 7th.
Oh, that's really great news. Thank you. Okay, last question here for you, Beth, is what is the potential dollar value of a mentor protege agreement?
Very, very good question. Well, it depends answer. It depends on what services that protege requires and how much it would cost to provide those services. So I will let you know that, again, this is for one base year, 2 option years. It can be up to $600K per year of value of services provided to the protege. But if you have good reason why it will cost more, there's maybe a very expensive specific technical skill set. It can be up to $1 million a year. So that's up to $3 million for a 3-year award, cost reimbursement award to the mentor to provide those services to a protege. That's not chump change for a small business.
No, that sounds great. Okay, let me check the questions one more time, and it looks like we're all set. I have put Beth's email in the chat. Please direct all further questions to Beth. We hope to see you in Detroit April 7th. And Beth, thank you so much for your time today and all this great detail. We will be posting this on the LIFT website if you need to forward it to a colleague or listen again. So again, everyone, thanks so much for taking the time today. Thank you, Beth.
Thank you, Addie. Appreciate it.
All right, bye-bye.